Hi everyone, we're going to talk about how to hit the golf ball off the ground, and I'm going to give you two drills that'll help you improve when the ball's on the ground. And remember, when the video's over, please like, subscribe, and comment. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to define a term that you're going to hear me use during this video, and you may have already heard, and it's called low point. Low point defines the very bottom of your swing arc. And it's, as I say in my golf school, is a really fancy word for the bottom of your golf swing or the divot. Now the next question that I ask my students, and I start all my golf schools with this idea, is when I make a good golf swing and I look down and there's the divot, where was the divot relative to the golf ball? So I make a golf swing and it's the highest, most majestic shot I've ever hit, and I look down and there's a divot. So I rewind that tape and I bring the ball back. Where was the divot, where was the ball before I took that divot? And I give them an ABC choice here. Was it on the front of the divot, the middle of the divot, or the back of the divot? So I'll give you just a second to think about that. So the answer is it was on the back of the divot. So most of the divot is in front of the golf ball. And I've had students come to my golf school that have been playing golf for a long time, and I ask that question and they look at me, it's something they've never thought about. And to me, if I'm going to create something, there's a word that we use in golf instruction. I use it quite a bit, and it's called intention. And I watch people play golf. I play with them in playing lessons. I play in pro-ams with them. And they're standing over a golf ball and they have no intention, or their intention is they're wishing, hoping, praying something good happens. So through this video, I'm going to give you an intention of what you should be doing when that ball's on the ground in front of you and you have an iron or a hybrid or whatever in your hand. And it starts with understanding this concept of I should take a divot, and B, the divot should be in front of the golf ball. Now, I'm not just going to say, hey, divot needs to be in front of the ball, go practice. I'm going to give you the how and why. Like, why do we see this? So this golf ball, even though I have it suspended in the air, we'll pretend it's right against the ground. So as this 8-iron is coming into impact, it's on a downward trajectory, hopefully. And my goal is to get the leading edge of the club under the ball. Remember that the ball's resting on the ground, so if I get that leading edge under, I am going to make some sort of contact with the ground. So club's on its downward trajectory into impact. It strikes the golf ball. The ball takes off, but what does the club head do? It continues on its downward trajectory, and that's why we see the divot in front of the golf ball. Now, I could take you, I can't right now because they're not playing, but we could go to a PGA Tour event and go to the driving range, and we see players that they hold it different ways. Some of them stand bent over, some of them stand upright, some have wide stances, some are narrow. So they do all sorts of things. But one thing that we see when they leave the driving range is we see that divot pattern. Or if you look at a par 3 after a tour event has been there for a week, the par 3 tees are devastated because they know they need to hit down to get the ball to go up into the air, and they know that they need to take that divot, and that divot's going to be in front of the golf ball. Now, as I mentioned, I've got a few ways, a few drills that I'm going to share with you that are going to help you to locate your divot. So the best players in the world, they have world-class impact alignments. And I'm going to give you a few drills. I mentioned I was going to give 2 at the beginning, but I'm actually going to give you 3 that are going to help you achieve these world-class impact alignments. So the first drill that I am going to show you, and I start all my golf schools with this, and it's based around that concept of A, I know I need to hit down on the golf ball to make it go up, and B, as a result, most of the divot should be in front of the golf ball. So what I do is I take a tee And for my students, I'll go out and I'll scratch a little line in the ground. And I had a student a couple years ago, and he would carry a screwdriver around in his bag, and when he'd come to the range, he would use a screwdriver because it was just a little easier. You can use the Dr. Scholl's foot spray, which I've mentioned in other videos. That'll create a line, or even paint, but I'd be careful going and painting a driving range. The staff might not appreciate that too much. Okay, so I've got my line on the ground here. What am I going to do next? Well, the next thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to start without a golf ball, is I'm going to make some practice swings, and my goal is to hit the line and get the divot in front, understanding that the line represents the ball. And since the line represents the ball, I should have the line right in the middle of my stance, because right now I'm hitting an 8-iron, and I know the ball goes in the middle of my stance with an 8-iron. So I'm going to put this line in the middle. And so I'm just going to make some rehearsal swings, and I'm going to hit the ground and get the divot in front. And so I'm just going to keep doing this until I can do a few in a row and I'm happy with my contact point. Now, as I've mentioned in other videos, this creates a feedback loop. So if I'm hitting behind, I can start to make adjustments. Maybe I need a little more weight forward to get the divot in front. Or if my divot's too far in front, maybe I need to keep my head and my spine back a little bit more through impact to get the divot where I want it. But using this feedback loop, I can certainly start to make educated decisions on how to correct some of the problems that I'm seeing. Now, I've hit a few. I've located the bottom of my golf swing. It's now in front of the golf ball. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it to the test. And I call it the little white devil. It's very easy to stand here when there's no ball on the ground. It's just a line. Hey, hand-eye coordination, just hit that line. And that's another reason why I love this drill, is that I'm tapping into your hand-eye coordination, your athletic ability, your golf prowess. We're not thinking, okay, my left arm needs to be here, my right toe needs to be there. It's just, hey, there's a line and I need to hit it. And I want you to experiment. Maybe I need to go back a little steeper, maybe I need to go a little more around, whatever the case may be, to get the divot where I want it. So this is a skill that we can continue to get better at through repetition. So you might put your first line on the ground, you say, all right, I'm going to go out and practice. I'm going to get that ball off the ground today. I'm going to do what Mark said. You go to the range, you get your line in the ground, you start hitting the line or attempting to hit the line, and you're all over the place. But give it 2 weeks, give it a month, and all of a sudden you're starting to locate that divot in the right place. So next thing we're going to do, I've trained, I've got my divot, I did 3 in a row, 5 in a row, whatever number you have that you want to achieve. I'm going to put the ball on the line now, and I'm going to work on hitting the line and getting the divot in front. So I mentioned my students, the ball's just kind of an innocent bystander. And I mentioned earlier about having intention. So your intention when you're on the golf course and you're hitting this 8-iron is, I'm going to be focused under the ball. And I'm going to imagine a line under the ball. And truth be told, if you do this enough, when you're on the golf course, you're going to start to imagine or see that line under the ball. But my goal is to get contact with that line. So I'm going to stand here, get ready to hit this golf ball. I'm focused on that line. I make the best swing I can, and that divot's right in front of the line, just like I've been rehearsing, just like I've been practicing. So that's the first way that we can do it. So the next way that I can focus on getting, first of all, creating a divot, making sure I hit down and get a divot, because I know I need to do that to get the ball up into the air. But I tried the line drill. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite. I wasn't great at it. I got another way we can do it. And I like to use simple training aids. So what you're going to do here is you're going to take a tee, and I'm going to put that tee right behind the golf ball. I'm going to stick it right into the ground behind the golf ball. And now my focus is going to be, this is the head of the hammer. That tee I just put in the ground behind the golf ball is the nail. And I'm going to use this hammer to drive that nail into the ground. That'll help me to hit down. It'll help me to start my divot right where the ball is, get most of the divot in front of the golf ball. So let's give this a try. So I've got my ball there. I set up my little tee behind the ball. So I've got my hammer. And I'm just going to focus on driving that nail or that tee into the ground. And it's gone, it's driven into the ground, and an even better result than I got with the line drill. So those are two ways we can do it, and I mentioned I was just going to give you two, but I'm going to throw in a third one, and this third one is more of a rehearsal, but I like it as far as a drill, and I think it's really good for when you're on the golf course where I can't put a tee behind the golf ball, I can't take and draw a line when I'm on the golf course. And so I'm standing in the middle of the fifth fairway. I've got this 8-iron in my hand and my ball is resting right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a practice swing, and I'm going to make sure that I hit the ground right next to the golf ball, and that if I do take a little bit of a divot, on the forward side of the golf ball. So I'm just making practice swings right next to the golf ball I'm getting ready to hit, making sure that I'm controlling that low point. I want to be one of the best players in the world. I want to learn how to locate, how to control my low point, the bottom of my golf swing. So I hope I've helped you to understand a few concepts that are really important when we're hitting a ball off the ground. I've given you 3 effective ways to do it. The first is take a tee, screwdriver, some Dr. Scholl's foot spray, get a line in the ground for yourself. Start without a golf ball. I'm just hitting the line, getting the divot in front. Then add the golf ball. The next way we could do it is I can take a tee and just push it in the ground behind the golf ball. This is the head of my hammer, that's the nail, the tee is the nail. I'm going to drive that tee or that nail into the ground. In the process of doing that, I'm going to hit the ball up into the air. And then the last one, very simple, I'm out on the golf course playing. I want to have a good intention before I make this swing. So I make a rehearsal swing, brushing the grass, taking a little bit of a divot right next to the golf ball, and mostly in front of the golf ball. Now, you're going to be practicing, and what's going to happen is you're going to make a swing and you're going to hit the most majestic, it's going to feel great, best golf shot you've ever hit. It's going to go nice and high into the air, and you're going to look down and there's not going to be a divot. So remember that I said our goal is to get the leading edge of the club under the golf ball. I can actually get the leading edge of the golf club under the golf ball, get solid contact, get flight without making a divot. You know, more of a scuff, more of a brush of the grass underneath. But imagine the precision that would take to do time and time again. And I just tell my students that taking a divot is just a margin for error. I don't have to be perfect. As a matter of fact, when I work with beginners, what I'll tell them is, first of all, they don't know how far the ball's supposed to go. So if they can hit the ground somewhere around the golf ball, they're going to see the ball go up into the air, and as a beginner they're thrilled. It's like, wow, I hit the ball up in the air off the ground. They don't know it's supposed to go 150 or 100 yards for whatever club they're holding, but they're happy that it went up into the air. So if I can just hit the ground somewhere near the golf ball, I'm going to get flight. So now you understand how to hit the golf ball up into the air off the ground. And if you found this video helpful, there are 2 more available right here that I promise will continue to help you improve your game. Please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and comment.